Da Kenyan ta kondi hibanotare dambiche druba lechon drutur ches. Ta druturge to Kenyan ta Rinpoche Khenpo bara tito brason here. Te indingayon shale Khenpo chelne tensene jongi jesante ma sure.
As we have gone through before, that as one to carry through all this supreme Dharma practice, then the manner of the practice is more important than the practice itself. So as in general, holiness and Khenpos and other teachers constantly giving all this, teaching, but taking it more important as the instruction, then I thought to still continue some explanation.
Chi huna ronggenyo su lena thala mani anchinda nao te jongi jesung ki ti sanane ta sonji ji khobon thoze gi juma norwa ta tema imba jongi jesung ki ti ma semba ji yenane ta rongge kunlong ge che sangyo na ti phayan sama to
all this practice, even we just chant one single Om Mani Padme Hum, if it is influenced by that the preparation, actual, and then the conclusion in relation with the bodhicitta and so forth, then that will naturally become cause to attain enlightenment. Otherwise, any sort of other practice, if it is not influenced or not mingled with the preparation, actual, and conclusion, then depending upon one's own intention, of course there is some benefit, but not necessarily it will become cause to liberation.
Zora sense tamba keni honi kyojutere. Nankhe kacha ge senjen tanche. Pama mazeba chichong yomare lenchi tamayin pa lentong tumamu bosheyore. Te tabu ke pama tele te trin chenpoji mato trin me muji pama te me tha chabare. Te indi pama senjen tanche ji dandu ta tele trinlen te bishirdu tene tatu sonje ji kopon lingo nge sambate karcheware.
So that the preparation, actual conclusion, the preparation or that the first intention, it is based on that generating the bodhicitta, that where one think of that all the apparently sentient beings equal to the space. That not just only one time that these beings are one's parent, but many lifetimes. So as these sentient beings, when they are as one's parent, of course they are always very kind and affectionate to oneself, and there is mostly there is none of parent who is not kind, and for that way just we think to repay back the kindness of all these parently sentient beings, and among them the best way to repay back the kindness or that feeling the grateful to them is if we could to lead them to enlightenment.
Tangi yimime sana ta rad sona chikatongke yo ma lang saja chembul rebu toba chembo sere teden sum kongrongge tawayana ta ngi yimime teni don dembare.
So then the actual, that non-conceptual or without any imagination, which means that the best way is as one receive all this the actual meditation instruction as like the ground path and the fruition, great perfection, and if one could really experience that, then that is the just actual non-conceptual meditation.
Tā te mēnā, tān Rinpoche na tā te chika mātō na te kāmurā. Temena tenta chetanji Jumamalon tab higis or course mimes. Penna Tagaran DJ Jigawa South Haju, Tenukowa Shejula Soba, Shandola Soba, Parchevade, Tan DJ Jigawa Sena, Penna Gewa Dunkeron, Gewa Drujugi, Gewa, Tenishatana, Shatsaki, Yuru, Shausandona, Shausandosa, Mandra Puna, Mandra Busaji Yurt, Tele, Hamba Mepa, Zamba Mepa. Tandraji Jumamalan Tabu Yin now take a culture here.
Then the middle way of non-conceptual or without any imagination is that, just if one have not received any instruction, then of course there is nothing. But as one received the, instruction, then try to experience and try to understand that everything is like a, magical illusion. So, which is explains that that non-conceptuality of the three spheres. For instance, just when we do prostration, then the object of the prostration, and then the prostration activity itself, and then oneself who is doing the prostration. Those three spheres, without any sort of grasping or clinging on it, and doing that kind of practice, similar like taking refuge, or even we do circumambulation, or just making mandala offerings, or whatever sorts of these just virtuous activity, which is called compounded virtuous activity. So for that, whatever we do, without having the concept of the just three spheres, subject, object, and then the action, and that way it also can be understood as non-conceptual practice.
Teo manjona ta chidrikhe tele mipa tele teson mipa la chila sembi kachen la chetarta yimichoro se te mipa kaimi remi khone chidrikhe la ti tan tele sanlo tong yin tende shena ngi kimi meji ko chos chiresena mipa lan tene se mipa da ra shes.
Then even one could not have such a kind of maintenance or practice, but still, then whatever sort of practice we are doing, if our mind is fully concentrated, that if one's mind is concentrated on that meaning of that practice, and not getting distracted and not wandering oneself into the thoughts, then that also just can be understood as non-conceptual practice through which one can have the actual benefit out of that. So that the actual non-conceptual practice, in relation with that, the best is if one could have the realization of the view, and then the second, if one could understand everything as magical illusion. The third, just one's mind fully concentrated on that, the practice, whatever oneself is doing.
Jeresena tapena gewa chidru tunyi rintung kasejina tamani pena mani rujinda tinko chizinda takaki jindong jindro giri chaji tungi di chenchen chenjina harika lomandro ne tombon hoa rishegi hiyaris.
So then the conclusion, or in the end, what it is known as the dedication. So whatever sorts of virtuous activity we are just doing, so within that one session, for instance, if you are accumulating Om Mani Padme Hum about one round mala, then just instantly one may thought, oh, I need to go for restroom, or I want to just get for some water. Then don't just stand up like that and just go away. At least you try to dedicate the merit.
Tang hoa la mulu zong yang yin yore. Hoa la du jian do du mei yin so. Ta du jian se na ta chen de le ji tan da zang le mi ne. Te le pen na ge wa chi dru te ke ta nga ne me ge zang. Dan me ge ji shou do tan do do nan ji shou li ma ge gong hong ji go len hoa she ga na te du jian re do yore. Te ke chen de le pen ba zang hong sin na ma tu pen ba chi ma.
Then this dedication also have one, in a way, this two kind of way of dedicating. One may be known as like a poisonous, and one, in a way, kind of without any poison, means that, one thing that whatever that virtuous activity one do, and if one dedicate for the, just kind of, happiness of this life, or for to clear out one's, sickness. So in a way, what it is called, just to get some protection for this, present life and for this, present welfare, then of course there may be some benefit, but still it is not the best way of, dedicating.
Tang hoa tu me la yang, ceni ba do jintu ba ni yore. Ta ceni ba ngama ne ta ya tsi sba je na te pa che chi ge ma re ta ya tsi simbi ge wa ti ti na yong re du yore. Hoa se na te re, te de ngi ji mi me se na te re. Ta jintu ba le cha ya na, ta rong le ta wa me na wong, song je shong cho sen ba na ke jin re xin he ya na, di je su lo nin. Ta tong shen ne, te dong tenpa rong ki chong, ta ta ji gewa ti ngo ten chi teres.
So then, non-poisonous or the kind of proper way of dedicating the merit also have two kinds. That one is kind of the actual or kind of the qualified way of dedicating the merit, and one is kind of just similar to it. So the actual is that if oneself involved with the view similar like that of the non-conceptual kind of practice, and then of course that itself is the just the right way of dedicating merit, and also it is the view. Then the second, what it is called just similar to it or in accordance with it, and that for instance like whatever kind of merit we accumulate or do any kind of virtuous activity, then we dedicate the same like in the past how all these Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, how they have dedicated, similar like that if we do the dedication, then also one can get the benefit.
Tang hoju gewa lao tata, tang ngaren tata chidre na ta teke matare, tek kerma imba. Jawa sedo chepa ki. Swami ki gewa chi na te madu senjen thanje ji gewa thanje yar du rong ti sanje gewa thanje sul lo lo shen ta tena thanje gewa thang ti san da sa bi gewa thanje chi du ne te senjen thanje le mos tengres.
So then the actual virtue, what we are dedicating, then that virtue is, of course, the mainly whatever that merit we have accumulated at this time or in the present. Not just only that, we can also dedicate all the merits that which is accumulated by all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, those merit or virtue which is known as undefiled, and then also all sorts of merits and virtues that which is accumulated by all other sentient beings, and also that one's own past, present, future times that merit and virtue, that all condense together, and then one can dedicate for to all sentient beings.
Ngosa ge yur phama senchen thanje le ngone chi shil ngo grisena 다 생전 단계로 예 생전 단계 내가 둘이에 된도도 된 되는 나 천지 표마토도 대화전지 행하를 시 대신에 다 타투 손지지 고폰래 파마 생전 단계로 예 단계 성지의 대화 손지지 고폰 토바르큐 대이체도 못다 된지 miracle grace.
Then the object where we dedicate all this merit or virtue is, of course, all the parentally sentient beings, and how or which way we dedicate is that just for temporarily that all these parently beings that they could obtain the 7 qualities of the upper realm, and then the moment when just any of these beings they just experience their death, and then their consciousness may transfer to just in general in Buddha fields or Amitabha Buddha Pure Land, and then at the end just all these sentient beings ultimately they could attain that complete enlightenment. In that way we have to just dedicate the merit.
Manghona tene gewa te sebidro kiyore jeresena gewa manghona says shutun gewa le seze giju year gewa te manghona sebidro kiyore kone kondu pekiyore contractiona mangho yendo shonju go senji tsima zingi gimime tsima zimbi sacheji gewa te contracti shena karba tongtrachi gewa yona takon meche patabu tidro kiyore tere contracti kiyore nichi jopa shena te gewa te sendo kiyore ta gewa te jo sene yoshin yomare te peji gana jo semte tang ngaron le como chichi chachi terin chi saon di ta mame chichi chayana terenge chen ta terin mame chichi chachi ya soni tede o katsun chichi de mame machena terin te che te ji shejo akaka chen thare ten jo thare katsun ji como cho khao thare gewa khao thare thoma khao thare penan joba se jeli to she yama jena joba dev kanishe hiyo hako mare tekene tan joba ke sendo hiare sanchi tene o gewa manghena sere joba shena sere kontra shena sere ngombo jena sere ngombo jesena tan ko senjen tan pen to bishi hoa shenge gewa de chol ngo sena te se mare ya pedere te ina ngongo shene o ta ka hidi pejle kana 다 나서 번넷 빼지가나 매지해나 다 팅어 사요라 파만드지해나 지지 동거 쳐버지신 다네 개와 트라모 셴나면 때 데빙하서 ngot사모여를 버진한테 개와 셴마티 세운 텐네 테네 개와 지도 차치 조타레 토만엔 카힌다에 마닌다에 라마 카히덴레시 카히마니 푸이 센 ngombo 저토도 그 개와 땡ꯉ어 셰차레 때 셰차레 Take get a mangona, then get a sabi jig, then get a sabi here. Motana, then said Chimere.
So then, in case if we don't dedicate the merit, then of course the virtues or merit can be exhausted. Basically, there is 4 kinds that if we don't dedicate the merit, it will just exhaust. And when we have so much anger, also it will get exhaust. And then if we regret over the just virtue, also it get exhausted. And then the 4th one is that even we just do all these virtues, but kind of show off, that will also just exhaust. So that for instance, any merit we have accumulated and we don't dedicate, then of course it doesn't just develop, and then it kind of somehow naturally get exhausted. And then the second thing, even we have just accumulated a great deal of merit, even like kind of eons, but then suddenly if kind of very strong anger or hatred arise, and that which kind of exhausts all the merit just completely. And then if we kind of regret, for instance, if we have like 10,000 just dollars, and then one think, or just it is good to accumulate merit by making lamp offerings, and then one make a lamp offering, and then the next day how possibly one can regret is, and then think, oh, I should not have just done that yesterday. If just if I could do today, that I can just do maybe just better way. And that way just when we regret what one have done, that kind of offering, then that all just exhaust that the $10,000 or whatever, just that kind of butter lamp offering, everything exhausted. So that is why one have to examine how possible that kind of regret, kind of remorse possible can be arise within oneself. That also just exhaust. And then the fourth one, when we do some kind of meritorious activity, then kind of show off. For instance, like just in Tibet, for within kind of example, that if somebody just dies from one family, and then naturally they just do lots of kind of pujas, and then lots of offering, and then just thinking, oh, if I don't do all those, I just be kind of embarrassing, it is not good. And that way one started doing all those kind of offering and puja and so forth. And then later one just explain to other people, oh, just when somebody died in my family, then I did this kind of puja, this kind of offering, I offer such and such money to this and that. In that way, when one just make kind of show off, that also exhausts the kind of merit. So that way one have to just know how we should dedicate and how should not that waste that merit.
Kasing hoa shepi penya le chayana ta gewa te seju me pi tet don ra is gewa ja chunjun je na gewa ja chembo len jor ros tene gewa ngen jisena ta dubo de je me na jongi ji sung ke tisin de hoa shena gewa zombo len jor ros ne ten hoa me se tere te pe do ju ji chen yin so ya.
So now the benefit of making the dedication, doing the dedication. So dedicating the merit or virtue is like a kind of treasure. It is just because it can become like a just inexhaustible. Even one have a kind of just tiny merit, but still when it is been dedicated, it can just multiply, and then even it is kind of very just kind of very ordinary virtue or merit, but if it is influenced by those that activity, that kind of preparation, and then the actual like non-conceptual, and then at the end dedication, these three kind of supreme thoughts, when it is involved, then again that just help to increase that merit. So that is why it is like the treasure.
Tando dona zora sense tamba ngi mi me tamba jing hoa tamba chi ji dun zongte teke tisana ten teba chembo gi chi tatu sonji ji ko hong ki todze gi chi ye te chu me tacha ki ron yin ri ti do jamba ko ri chi nyen na ko ri druna ko ri ko wa sena so tsan mani tsachi me mandana te jong ji son don ndar mo ri.
So, however, in a just condensed way, then it is always important to influence with the just this supreme intention, then the supreme the non-conceptual that way of understanding, and then the supreme kind of dedication. Whatever sort of kind of dharma practice one may do, it should always influence by that. Then that merit or virtue naturally become the kind of the Mahayana kind of real practice, and also that will become cause to attain enlightenment. And if we have these three just supreme thoughts, then whatever kind of virtue we accumulate, like even circumambulating or chanting on the Om Mani Padme Hum even one time, just however when it is been influenced by these three, then that will just become cause to liberate.
Te na ngamong thal jisena tampesena nga che du ande lontor machinda ne che di ni chi lontu tembi ni ma koma ke kunye tu megalo guchda bachi sanro news tendro di te ke lontor mbachele a hyone ten ko ni te chi le che sen ramanda chura kyomani thomani tene lon Kurgesana lung cheese, talon to tambina kunira, Abalun chick, call young Jason Chi Song Tata, Junjo, Nyausalan, Yetsa Chile, young Jason Maki, Yanchra Chi Tomanu, the Junjo, Nyausalan, Roland, Duna, Chishena, the Junjo is any hundred. That's a cute detail on Durumba check, Shala, Shoniga, to Jia Marchon, Monsar Chambore Sonda.
So here is kind of like a story or some just things kind of like a history or a story that in relation with my life I want to just share. That Lungdo Rinpoche, from whom I received all this teaching, and then his teacher, the previous one, Lungdo Tembe Nyima, and then just he's also a very great master. So one time just this Lungdo went to his teacher, and then he said just he didn't kind of just receive much other many just teaching. Anyhow, that he wished to have some just teaching. So at that point, then Lungdo Rinpoche that taught that this Chorwa, which is that the intention, then the Ngwishi, which is the kind of non-conceptual understanding, and then the which is the dedication. So these three supreme thoughts, and then he said, just only you concentrate into these three supreme thoughts, whether you are sitting or walking or doing any sort of just kind of just activity, and that will just get that will just bring you great deal of benefit. And then as Lungdo Rinpoche did this practice, and then later he realized, oh, this is very profound, and that way then he put his hand on his crown with the kind of folded hand, and then say, oh, just kind of it is the please kindly hold in your heart. In that way that there is the just that benefit.
Tere tane chi drulu khena tane Tamba Sanjano Mandi Piche, Chitong Tamba Sanjano Donandi Soyer. Tere Chidu Kena, Cherisena, Jora Sense Tambado, Jinghua Tamba Nine Sona Jitores. Nigimi me Tambati Higitsoyins. Sonondo ye Higitsosana, Tatu Kunikon Tozegi, Nijitum Maiba Yins. Then Chidu Kena, you come che here. Te lami mengali tukin yore, te indinge ta tambasen do dikyo jite.
So, if one know how to do the Dharma practice, then of course it is also just somehow easier. So that basically these three supreme thoughts that in the kind of preparation, which is your kind of intention of generating bodhicitta, then the actual where you try to realize and understand everything as just emptiness nature with the illusory appearance, and then at the end the dedication. So within that all sorts of accumulations of merit and wisdoms are condensed for. So the intention of generating bodhicitta, and then the last one, that dedication, that which helps to accumulate merit, and then the actual, the kind of non-conceptual practice of emptiness and appearance, that which accumulates the wisdom. And when we have the accumulations of these two, merit and wisdom, then we have the complete cause and condition to attain enlightenment. So that is what this just all the masters kind of instruction.
Oh, tere tene ngre na thoma trong Rinpoche ge loma imba lan randa re. Te indi ti no ne phache ne ge hi na chi lo chi hi na chi. Tene nga chune zonte tene lama ge hi ne teni da damba mumbu ndane na cho se chen ri che mumbu te ri. Yena nyang len ka wa hi yo ma ri. Jiten chi je ge la ka shin gamba ge khutong ku shin don du ge hi ri. Nyang se len lo che ma ri. Ka chu do ka o chang ma he mi he. Oh, tere te na da ne chun che le chun che ki. Tu na san de ka je si san de re ki jo. Tene te me mo ba ki jo me tu ji che.
So then of course all are just this His Holiness disciple. So the Rinpoche, he himself in his childhood, when he's very young, spend time together and receiving all those teaching, and somehow he himself become very fortunate receiving just all these instructions and dharma, but I didn't have enough time to do all this practice. However, because of this dharma activity, there are lots of activity that has been to be